can't be stars in the daylight. These things are moving about, for goodness sake. Look closely at the footage. They don't move in the same direction. These things wander around each other. The formations change, especially this one on the day of the Pope's arrival. The formations are constantly changing. Birds don't fly like that. Birds tend to stay together and move together. And if we watch carefully, we can see that there's different motion, different speeds within the actual fleet or flotilla or whatever you'd like to refer to it as. We don't know what they are. One thing that I'm fast becoming to accept that they aren't are balloons. Now, we've heard over the years, and last year there was some remarkable footage shot in the south of England that the people at the television company who recorded this footage didn't want to share it with anyone, so the only people who saw it were those fortunate to be in the south of England on the night of the newscast, or if someone's been fortunate to see a recording of this thing. Leading researchers in this country turn around and say, oh, these are just balloons. Well, Mexico City is a little bit different. This country, 600-700 feet above sea level is the norm. The high peaks up on the moors of Yorkshire and up in the Cumbrian mountains, 1,100 feet above sea level. That's nothing. You know, Mexico City is thousands and thousands of meters above sea. Staying with Jaime, who lives in Mexico City itself, I can tell you climbing the stairs to bed on a night was something of a task. You know, the breath is drawn away from you. It took me 5 or 7 days just to be able to feel comfortable with the high altitude and the low air content, or the low oxygen content within the air. This poses a problem for things like this. During the Congress, a young man was there every day with this Corona advertising blimp, advertising the Congress, but he was tethered. And I thought, well, surely they're going to fly this darn thing. It was beautiful weather, you know, it was 90 degrees in the shade, there wasn't a breath of wind, there shouldn't have been problems. I spoke to him, and in broken English he explained quite simply that the problem is the altitude in Mexico, more so Mexico City than Acapulco, because Acapulco is only a few hundred feet above the sea, but the quality of helium gas that's to go into these things to fill them makes the expense enormous to fill one of these blimps with high quality helium to get lift. Because of the altitude of Mexico City, even when we get these things buoyant, he described them as being lazy. They fly very lazily in the sky. Yes, children's balloons are available. We've seen the cartoon characters, the little silver balloons, and I've seen them where people have let go of them. And they don't achieve a great height. These things seem to saunter about at 10-15 feet above the ground and end up getting caught in the electricity cables that are only maybe 20 feet above the road. Now that's due, quite simply, to the atmosphere, the air conditions in Mexico City. Again, very high altitude, very thin air, the helium just can't lift the balloons, and to say that a fleet of balloons could be released, hundreds of balloons, in the Pope's image we've counted 50 different things there, 50 different images. If this was the case, and these things are flying at several thousand feet, the volume of helium gas and the expense of helium gas to fill these balloons to achieve this sort of lift would put you in the category of paying somewhere around about 15 or 20 pounds a balloon. Mexican people don't earn that in a week. Ask yourself the question, are they going to pay that for a balloon? No. I do not think these are balloons.
As we approach the dawn of a new millennium, something else of potentially huge importance was taking place on the other side of the world. On the 26th of December, the Phenomena exhibition opened its doors at the Fremantle passenger terminal near Perth, Western Australia. Some 2 years into planning and a solid year in the making, the organisers of Phenomena intend to clone the exhibition and, through a worldwide franchising operation, help further educate tens of millions as to the reality of this subject. Occupying some 12,000 square feet of space, and employing some of the very latest visual and display technology, the exhibition is composed of several pods, each comprising of a particular theme. UFO Magazine has worked closely with the exhibition organisers during the past 2 years and made a sizable contribution in terms of literature, fact-finding, images and videotape material. Elsewhere, Dr. Roger Lear has supported the venture by kindly donating some of his prized surgically removed implants, while a mysterious sphere that fell to Earth in Mexico several years ago was loaned by Jaime Maussan and housed in an impressive glass casing. So join with us now as we wander through this truly unique exhibition, one that will reopen its doors in Sydney later in the year and later appear in towns and cities across the globe. Back in March this year, our travels took us to Laughlin, Nevada, home to the International UFO Congress and Film Convention, the largest UFO conference of its type staged anywhere in the world. Once more, our cameras were present to record several on-the-spot interviews with some of the key speakers. Larry Warren is no stranger to UK shores, but did he have anything new to add to those events he first described in his book Left at East Gate, which claimed, among other things, that a UFO appeared over Rendlesham Forest in December 1980.
Cameras and such like were taken into the woods over this period of time, but nobody until now has ever seen any images. Right. You produced images. Tell us about that.
The images that I showed one picture which didn't reproduce very well. We'll work on that glitch for leads. And sorted out by then, but what happened to me since our book came out, and of course we really did have a great deal of success as far as reaching people in England and feeling empowered that this event is your Roswell, and it is something not to be ashamed of or not look at. It's something to really sink your teeth into and get involved. Well, having a book come out, and with the advent of the internet, and which I'm not up on unfortunately yet, a lot of witnesses that went through these events had no idea that word one had been mentioned about it. They went on with their careers, they retired, and in the last few years, 5 years or so, we've seen most of the people I was with either long out of the military, starting to see this stuff come up on their computers, or seeing the book on television, Bent Waters, my God, it's out. Or on the internet, easily accessing it, because there's the Bent Waters alumni site, people that were stationed there over a 40-year period. And they're starting to see, well, this is the UFO thing, it's out, and then they found it. What happened to Peter and I is that through our publisher, back when they did cooperate with us, and before they decided to keep the book sales, is that we would get letters forwarded to us. And many times they're from regular folks that come to these conferences. And more often than not, I started to find they were from very key players in this event that were higher ranked than I, or equivalent rank. Some were friends, some I knew peripherally, saying, good for you, glad you did it. A few were, I have to be honest, saying, well, I don't remember any of this. A number of them were, my God, it filled in the gap because I couldn't get off my post that night, and But it also countered, and will counter over this next year, is that I've been accused of it all. We all know this. But over the years, people have said that there was a rumor mill, and so anyone could have picked up on this information. It will be very apparent to people over the next year that there was no rumor mill when people that worked on our flight that didn't get out there had no idea what had happened at all. It was that clamped down, like some senior people said. I got a letter, first of all, that said, I want to thank you for what you did. This is leading to the pictures. They came out, and this gentleman said to me, and I'm holding his name right now because he's not sure what he would like to actually be dealing with this. I said, I don't know if I'm too controversial. I shouldn't be the guy. His view, counter view on that is that I've done this from the beginning. He's watched it develop. He said, no matter what they do to you, you keep coming back. He has children. He has a lot to lose. He's an executive now. He took these pictures, as he told me. I have all of it in his own handwriting. I even have the negatives, the original negatives, that can be analyzed and will. I've sat on these for 2 years. Even my dear co-author, Pete, has been very nervous about these, has been, I think, frightened of them. I have shown a few people, and over the years, I think it's one more nail in the coffin. Oh, Jesus, this guy might be right, for God's sake, and a lot of people don't want that to be. I don't want to be right. I want to know what happened to me. He told me I have these pictures, and I'm like, look, I'm not even an expert on this. I have enough to deal with on my plate. And basically, this guy was involved on the first night, snapped pictures with a Canon camera that was in the back of a law enforcement car for accident investigation. And he took the film. They encountered, this is literally when they were thinking they were encountering a crashed plane, started taking pictures of this triangular object, as described, as seen in some of the reports that are coming out from the next day now. Same lighting configuration. It has density to the triangle, a black triangle. Doesn't look like what I saw on the 2 nights later at all. It really doesn't. But it does match exactly the verbal descriptions and written descriptions of the gentleman on the first night.
And he did something quite unique with the film.
Amazing. What he did, knowing he was higher ranked and had been in the game, knew this was extreme significance. These gentlemen did experience missing time, which they're having a great deal of problems with. These people are now seeking out UFO or experiencer-friendly therapists to heal some things that are in their lives, the memories. He took the film. What he did is that with his knowledge of this, he said, this film will never be seen again. To another person that was with him, he took the camera, he fired off pictures. The first picture I showed today was taken at a distance of 150 feet approximately in a clearing. I know exactly where this clearing is and have been bringing people there for years. It's not the site on the third night on Capel Green, it's before that. He took the, fired that first shot. His sense in his heart is that this phenomenon knew they were there. The clicking of the camera told, it's just he sensed because it started moving toward him. Took that picture, he got pictures within 5 feet of it. He is not the Jim Peniston who touched the object and had the telepathy. I believe what Peniston says about that. I believe that was said to him by whatever was in. This gentleman continued to fire pictures off him, but because of the, he thought he had taken at least 15 to 20. I have 7. And I have the actual film. They just go blank. But there's a moment where radio contact was cut off in that forest. CSC couldn't reach these guys for 4 hours, and this is where I believe and other things happen.
Rod Regier has worked on several classified projects involving satellite surveillance technology. In his lecture, Regier demonstrated how some UFO activity had unquestionably been recorded from space. But how important are satellites to this subject, and what of the future?
I started working in the aerospace industry as an astronautical engineer in 1964. And I worked on the Saturn Apollo moon rocket, and my job was to design the interface wiring between the various elements of the rocketry, the different stages. Then I worked on the first space station, the Skylab, which readers and viewers will know impacted Australia several years ago. I don't know the specifications for that. And then moved on to a small company in California that's primarily designing remote sensors, but has nothing to do with